welcome back to part 2 of the reality of being an agency owner with Claire Daniels. And we're just going to get straight back into the conversation. The work-life balance, staff, the ups and downs. Tell us a bit more about what your pain points and what your good points are right now in the current economic environment.
I would say generally before this year, I was always really good at having a good work-life balance. Apart from time off, although I definitely took more time off last year. Well, I travelled more, but a lot of it was work trips actually. So don't know if I did. But it still felt good.
Yeah.
But this year, I don't know what's going on. I've been working every evening, every weekend, just...
It's busy, isn't it?
Yeah, like pushing. And that takes its toll. But I'm not an advocate for that. You know, I'm not an advocate for my team to do that, but I'm an advocate for when it needs to be done, you just get on and do it and don't complain about it. So that's what I've been doing. But like I think it was by last Thursday of last week, I was like, everything's done. I could go home and not work tonight, you know, and that was actually a shock. But I'm not a fan of that. I think you really have to, try and have your own time as well to maintain your sanity, and to make sure you show up as the best version of yourself, and, you know, to also lead by example. I think it does put a bit of pressure on people that if you work a certain way, even if you don't communicate that's an expectation, people think that's the expectation of them as well. I will still leave the office at normal time and I'll go home and work, you know, and stuff like that if I need to do it. So it's not setting an example.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree on that one. Like for me, but we did have a bit of a chat with the team when we do our 6-month company update. Again, that was an example I took from me. I was like, okay, we should be communicating more to our team. You started doing 6-month company updates and you advised me, say, man, you should do it. But 6-month company update isn't just about, here's what's good. It's about, here's what's good, here's what's bad, and full transparency where the company's going. Because that's the only way your staff are going to buy into the journey and the growth model you're in.
Yeah.
You've got to get the right staff, but you also got them to not buy in, but be part of that process saying, yes, I want to help you achieve this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. But yeah, we kind of like said at the end of January, like it was very rocky. I've been very outspoken about the economic position and government on my little clips. I stand by everything I've said.
Yeah.
And I'll just say I'm just one of the few people that are brave enough to actually say it how it is. And I will always speak the truth. But the economic environment right now in the UK it's bad. It's not as bad as it was this time last year. I mean, this time last year, I think it was really bad.
Yeah.
But it recovered throughout the year. But I think a lot of that growth and recovery has been impacted by what we call the accountant, Rachel Reeves.
Yeah.
I think it's very anti-growth. And I'm like, now's not the time to do that. When you look at when they came in, 0 growth in the first quarter, no negative at 0, then 0.01. I was like, 0.1%, whatever it is. It's like, this isn't good enough for a country, economic country of the UK's stature. So what I've been surprised more about is like clients are wanting strategies and wanting conversations. We're doing a lot of audits and we're really busy, and I'm working, I'd say burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And it's been unusual to kind of do that because I do give myself a bit of a break, but everyone's dragging their heels in terms of decision making across every industry, every sector, because of government decisions like national insurance and other things that are coming into play into certain industries. So food and beverage clients are taking a hit because of the rising cost in production, and they're like, right, well, we have to look at other areas. So it's like you can see the snowballing effect in the background happening a little, but everyone's trying to stay buoyant and positive, which is what I love. But I feel like right now I haven't had a work-life balance since probably, well, Laura, you tell me. You've seen my diary over the last 3-4 months. I'm working weekends. I'm working evenings. But I make sure my team switch off. I focus theirs. But I did say we're going to have to go a bit above and beyond over the next 3 months, just as we've got a number of new clients come in. I'd rather over-service them and make sure they're happy and they embed in properly, as opposed to not, because it's all that time, money, resource invested into growing the company and hitting those targets, the last thing you want is to it go 6 months later, because then all that time and money resource has been wasted. So that's what I felt it's been like, is I've overworked because I've chosen to, but to show the clients they've made the right decision in a tough economic environment when it's hard to part away. I mean, there's not $5,000 a month contracts going every other day. You know, you've got to work hard to be in a position to get into multi-million-pound companies, to put yourself in that position to compete.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there, because I think with what we went through last year, it's that like fight to go, right, I'm really going to make sure that doesn't happen again. So kind of overworking. The majority of my time now is focused on sales as well. And that's where it's come, you know, doing extra proposals and stuff like that. But I find for everyone who doesn't want to spend, there's someone else who does. So we actually are getting a lot of opportunities coming through. And my, I guess, word of caution, just on one thing you said there, and I'll share my learning from it, is the overservicing thing, because we've lost a client this year. And what we've identified is actually this was someone we overserviced. And so when you get to the point of this is the process, this is how we're going to do things now, we can't afford to keep overservicing, it's not profitable, they leave. And they're going to leave and go somewhere that's going to deliver exactly what we were now saying we could deliver. Yeah. But it felt like it got worse because we went from this over-servicing to trying to level it back down. And so,
we probably rephrase that, because you know about my Bobble Insights platform. One thing we focused on is because the team weren't effectively tracking how much additional time they were doing on clients. And I was like, well, and I really love Gareth Healy's in terms of like stand still, stand out post that he does. And it's quite transparent. It's like, we should be going back in, because we have quarterly updates for clients, to say, hang on, we've done all this work because you've asked us to do it, by the way, not because we've decided to do extra work on your account. You're clearly asking more from us. Now you need to pay for that. So we don't mind doing that in that quarter, but it means now we've got the evidence and the Asana project tasks and the total tracking time systems and the Bobble Insights platform to say, you clearly need us, but for us to sustain this, you now need to pay this. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Otherwise, we need to now, over the next 3 months, mitigate what you're asking for us and give realistic time for it. So it's that making sure we give the value that we've promised into our clients. So what I don't mean by self-service is like doing hundreds of hours extras. I just want to clarify that there, which is what I'm saying. It's like, it's just making sure that we deliver what we're doing, but setting real expectations. That's something that I've worked with the team on, is setting realistic expectations with clients from day one. Yeah.
And I think that's the job of agency land as well. You know, like we are very at Trio, like very straight talking, very honest. When someone goes, well, what can you guarantee I'm going to get? I'm like, there's no guarantees. And anyone who is telling you they can guarantee something is lying. Yeah. Like they honestly just are. And, you know, we won a big website project and a retainer this year. We said we were going to take the longest and we were the most expensive. But I was upfront about it. You know, it's like, well, someone else says they're going to do it in 3 months. I was like, their 3 months will become 6 months. I'm telling you it's 6 months, and that's it. It will be 6 months. And, you know, they appreciated that honesty. And I think this is a thing in the agency world, is people not being too caught up in, or what should I say to try win this from that other agency? So I'm going to promise all this and say all that, knowing they can't do it. Yeah. Whereas I'm just like, I'm never going to lie. I'm never going to overinflate something. I'm going to be honest, but it's proof in the pudding, you know, like you can prove the results. And that's what agencies should be judged on, is that performance, what they can deliver. And, you know, I feel really confident in that. So I can be kind of quite quiet in it, really. Whereas, I think there can be a lot of other people who might say a lot. Yeah. And the more of us out there who can just talk, you know, be transparent and prove within the results what you can do, everyone kind of needs that. We need to do that to support each other and make sure agency world gets a good reputation, and, you know, that it's not just saying whatever and then not delivering on it in a few months' time.
There's a final couple of questions.
There's a couple of things that I want to ask. Yeah. I might be going slightly off topic here, but you've both talked a bit about making difficult and perhaps in some cases maybe slightly controversial decisions in your time being agency owners. I'm not going to ask about regrets because that's a really stupid thing to ask about, but if you could go back, is there anything that you think, do you know what, actually, yeah, I would do that differently in hindsight?
No, because everything's a learning curve to me. The mindset I've created now is, A, there's no time for regrets, to be honest with you. B, you can't go back and do something differently. You got to learn of what worked and what didn't work and implement what did work the next time round. Everything as a business owner, agency owner is a learning period. If you see everything as a failure, you're never going to get far. But if you see it as like, that's how you don't do that, like recruitment processes, for example, like I wouldn't say I'd go back and do my recruitment process differently. I now do my recruitment process differently because I learned what did work and didn't work. So I wouldn't say I'd go back and do anything differently. Now when I look back at my life, 35 years old, turning 36, it's like no time to look back and say I do things differently. It's like, no, fail faster to learn how not to do things a certain way. It's as simple as that. And if you take everything as a learning curve, then you move forward. And I have to say, Laura, how much process systems have we changed over the last 12 months in terms of moving things differently? And like, no, that didn't work. That hasn't historically worked for us. Right. We need to innovate, develop new ways of working and move forward with the current times. And that's it. Would never go back and do things differently. Maybe, put a couple of bets on some football and some races when I should have, but that's about it.
Leicester to win the Premier League.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Claire, you were saying, like, you made some big calls when you took over. How when you look back at that, how do you feel about that? Is there anything that you look back on and go, actually?
I also believe in not having any regrets, and everything is a lesson. But I'd say the biggest lesson, so whether you'd say, would I do it differently, but it's because this is what I've learned from it, was to kind of not hire based on the future. That's definitely been my biggest thing. And to be fair, one other is because I didn't have much time in agencies, I've not been in that agency model to see how it's structured, to see how it works. So you kind of from the outside looking in going, so what does an agency look like? What team members do they have? What structure do they have? And all of our worst decisions have been when we've tried to do what the agency thing should be. So we're not doing that anymore. Like, we know what works for our clients, and when they are getting the best service and the best results, and quite often it's not what the typical agency structure would look like. So we're leaning into that now.
Yeah, you got to own your processes and systems.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I always get asked the question, who you competing with? And I'm like, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not trying to compete with other agencies. I'm trying to do it my way. I always say. I know we've probably come up on projects together a few times. I had to end up backing off and be like, no, even if whoever wins out of that one, I know they're going to get great service. For me, I know where I want to be and where I want to take it. I know what I want to do in my tech company. I know exactly how I want to revolutionize the pain points within the industry and solve those problems, not just for me, but for every agency. And the biggest problem with all agencies out there is inefficiency tracking. Essentially, what it comes down to is how efficient is individual departments and services kind of running. Even at the top level, Group N, and I'm not going to say who, but I talked to it, it's like someone's just left at senior level. And the biggest problem is inefficiencies in terms of how they're doing that. They've got all these projects and all this stuff, but there's so many inefficiencies going on in terms of how they process and do things and how they deliver results that it's a big pain point. And the other pain point I'm trying to resolve is just like recruitment gets a bad stigma, and I actually give it out there, sorry. But it's like agencies get a bad rap as well, because when you go in, how many times have you heard from a potential customer saying, we've worked with agencies before and it didn't work.
Yeah.
This agency promised all this. It's so common, isn't it? So that's a problem the industry has to solve. But I'm like, well, I'm going to solve it for me first. And if I can solve it for me, then I'll see if I can create something and offer it to the industry as a solution to, look, not every agency is out there bad. Clients have probably left us because of something that's probably a miscommunication or something as a result. but we're all human. You're always going to have some form of churn rate with clients. But what I found is our churn rate over the last 2 years has come from us moving away from one thing I moved to, and I said this was my biggest, if I would go back and change something, but I've already done it, is I only like to work with clients that have a marketing department now.
Yep.
If they don't have a marketing department, I'm not going to work with you. Yeah. If there isn't a key contact within that business that manages the agency, not the MD or the CEO, I'm not going to work with you. You don't understand how an agency is going to support your infrastructure and support your business in a certain way, because you're not prepared for it by actually hiring a marketing manager or hiring someone internally to look at the general marketing for the company and then relying on our expertise where you can't hire internally, which is why you go to an agency model to do it that way. So that's the one biggest lesson I've learned and advice I'd give to anyone is like, no, if we want to attract the right clients.
Interesting you'd give that advice to anyone, because I disagree. And
but
you know,
it's different.
Yeah, because we've got clients who had a marketing team when they hired us, and they retained us and didn't retain the team because we knew more about their business. Yeah. We had more expertise, more specialist expertise. Obviously, they can bring it in. And I agree, you have to work with someone who understands the value of marketing. And that can be the challenge in those instances you're saying. You know, if someone doesn't understand the value, it's going to be an upwards slog from there, because it's always going to be a battle. But so long as the business understands the value that marketing can bring them, to me, it doesn't matter if they have a marketing team or not, because they're hiring one when they hire us. And that's what we really say. You know, we're here to be an extension of your team. Doesn't matter if you have one or not, because we'll be it for you. And, you know, with the strategic support that I provide, well, you don't need a marketing director or a head of marketing. So if you need a marketing strategy, I can create that for you. And then the team can deliver. We'll be clear on like, this is what we can deliver, but this is, if you want to do any of this stuff, this isn't us. But yeah, we've actually had, not that we're trying to out marketing people within, but we've had actually quite a successful track record of businesses keeping us and not keeping the marketing teams.
That's a USP for you. There you go. For me, I like just having a point of contact in the business, because we're so performance focused. It's just sometimes at much senior level, they're just interested in the core numbers, but they don't understand the bit that goes behind that. So having someone, not to say I have your back or a point of contact in the business that understands the function, and where we together work as an integrated team, that's the bit I like, is where we come in and they see as an extension of their team. So it's almost like we stop them from the need of having to hire any more people because they have us. So we're keeping their, obviously, employment costs down.
And what you're there to do, and I say this to people, but I think even more so if you're dealing with the marketing people, is you're there to make them look good. You know, like if they're managing that agency relationship and getting stuff through, it's like all this technical expertise and specialisms going on gets thrown into the report that they can then do and put together. And it should really be about them being able to take the glory of it almost and go, we've done this, you know, in collaboration with, but this is what we're outputting.
So any other questions?
I honestly, I could quite happily sit here and listen to you both for the rest of the day, because I find it really, really fascinating. What I really like as well is you've both given really honest answers and accounts of how you've built things and what you've done, which aren't like out of the management bullshit kind of agency owner, business owner bullshit handbook, which is brilliant. So I want to ask you both about, I guess I'm asking about the future, but I think I'm asking specifically in terms of like, what's the vision? What are you working towards? Because again, you know, that kind of business owner handbook is about build it up as quickly as you can and then get out as quickly as possible and sell for as much as you can, so you can go and sit on a beach for the rest of your life. Like that's out of the bullshit manual. So what is that for both of you? What is the future plan? Where do you want to take things? What's the exit plan? What's the vision?
And go chill on a beach.
Of course you can.
That's straight out of the couch.
Is that to Dubai? Come on.
I feel like I already know yours a little bit, man. We've talked similar stuff on the podcast before, haven't we?
We have talked about a few things, but quickly with me is I've been so inspired by the capabilities of AI and what's going on there and dealing with pain points in the industry that actually what I wanted probably when we first talked back in 2020 when we came in the same offices to where I am now, it's changed quite a bit. I want the senior leadership to eventually hopefully take over that. But I always said that there'll always be a part of me that'll always be part of Bobble. I'm more of a legacy focused person in terms of like brand legacy focused person like Louis Vuitton or something like that. I'm not saying Bobble's like Louis Vuitton, I'm just saying, but you know, it's just can't compare the two. Yeah. But it's like an element of me or my investment group Bobble will still always have a small percentage of Bobble. Does that make sense? As a legacy brand. But yes, I do want to eventually build it up for a bigger agency to see how we do things and say, no, we want that into how we do things, or, you know, eventually a senior management team to take over. But my focus and attention and my priority is Bobble Insights. That's the long-term game. The SaaS, AI, MarTech element of that is a game changer. And that's where I'm more passionate about these days in terms of solving the AI agency issue. And I've seen a path, and I can see a clear path, and I'm just literally like on that journey. I don't know where it ends. I'll be honest with you, with Bobble Insights, but I can see the path. I know what next steps to take, and that's all I'm doing right now.
That's quite profound at the end. I like that.
Well, it's true.
You've got to follow that, Claire.
Well, I'll start from the end goal backwards. So my end goal is to have an animal sanctuary. That's all I've ever wanted to do, is to rescue animals. You know,
really?
So, yeah, but I need a lot of money. So that is what is driving me. I need money to be able to buy the land, to be able to, you know, I've already thought, going to need vets and people on payroll to help with these animals rescuing and stuff like that. I'd run it as a charity and hopefully have like school trips coming out and learning about animals and stuff. So that's my end goal. But yeah, I need money for that. And luckily, I'm making money doing something I love, you know, so there isn't a clear timeline at the moment on that. But equally to money, we are developing our own AI as well. And it's the case of, you know, I'm very pragmatic, and you have a look and go, well, how many agencies have really broken through and achieved X amount of value that is the kind of scale that I would maybe like to have? And it's not many. So, you know, what's so special about you that's going to make you want to get there? And, you know, you've got to be realistic with yourself. And, you know, I was at an agency dinner the other week, and it was like, everyone go around and explain what makes you different. I was like, look, we're all doing the same thing. Yeah. Like, there is nothing that really makes us that different. And I mean, it's a phrase I use with everyone, where I say I hate USPs because the problem is nothing new left about it. There isn't anything that unique happening anymore. So it's just about value and doing the things you do really well. And yeah, looking at value and stuff like that, it was like, well, we should probably start looking at our own IP and tech and stuff like that. So yeah, we started a journey where we've got investment through grants and stuff like that to develop our own AI platform, and that would hopefully drive the valuation of the business. But I'm kind of open to this grey area in the middle of, will that drive the value of Trio, and then that will kind of call an exit point at some point, or will that be the new business and we go off and do that and we do the AI piece for a little bit? You know, I want to keep doing stuff whilst I enjoy it, because it does scare me a little bit. You know, I'm the same age as you, turning 36 in a few months, and it's like, well, what would you do after? You know, if you do it, like, well, what am I going to do? I'm probably realistically going to live till I'm 100 now in the world we live in. So if you retire by the time you're 40, what are you doing for 60 years? You know, so I think you've got to be a bit realistic about it as well. So I want to keep doing what I love whilst I enjoy it, but with the aim that at some point it needs to create a lot of money, and I will be going and buying up as much farmland as I can, and I'll start rescuing animals.
That's fantastic. I wouldn't have seen that answer coming. I think that's brilliant.
Unfortunately, I know for a fact I'm not going to live to 100. I know my life expectancy is significantly lower. So I am trying to achieve it a lot quicker. But that's because I've had a kidney transplant, and obviously I'm grateful for how long it's lasted right now, but there's so much uncertainty around it. I remember when you and me called back in June, and we had a catch up in terms of what is a long term. We actually had this conversation and in private. I'm not going to share it here, but it's like we kind of, I know we're very similar in that sense in terms of what we want to achieve. And that's why I said you're one of the people that
And one of the things that we both did say then, that isn't a secret, was like, when it's hard, you're like, I don't know how much longer I can do it for.
Yeah.
So, and I just think I think it's hard to have a set timeline because sometimes it is really hard and you could jack it all in. And the thing that doesn't is I'm like, well, I haven't worked this hard just to get here, and that's the thing that keeps driving you. It's like, the payoff. And this is the thing, going back to your point, you kind of point about politics, and I try not to get too hung up on politics, and I don't vote, sorry, but I wouldn't have voted Labour. But the point being, people think that you're benefiting now as a business owner, and you're not. The payoff comes whenever that exit is. Yeah. And the fact that they then want to take almost half of that from you at that point, where like there is no incentive.
Because I've already done it.
Yeah. There is no incentive.
It went viral in one of my posts about that on, I wouldn't say viral, it went I got a lot of abuse for it. And I was like, no, you just clearly don't understand. I'm taking all the risk. But my reward comes not now, in 10 years' time. Yeah. So it's like, where's the incentive now? Yeah. And I think that's a bit. But I think my second win's come with Bobble Insights. I'm glad I started building that product, and it's naturally evolved as everything has gone on. I mean, I know you're really focused on AI on a creative perspective. I'm focused on AI on a very, very performance perspective. Maybe one day we'll AI together. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll talk about it in a couple of years' time. But for me, I'm like, look, let's just ride the waves as they come. And you're right. When you're at the bottom, like last year, we talked about...
But who would have... If we'd been asked this at the start of Bobble Pod at the first time, would that vision... Neither of us would have said, I'm going to develop AI.
No.
So to that point of riding the wave, it's like we just don't know what's around the corner. Yeah. So all of a sudden, two separate ages, and it's not like one of us went, I'm going to do AI, you should too. It's like it's the natural progression of this is a thing that we should be adopting. So who knows what the next thing is? Yeah. And we'll just keep holding on and seeing what's left of us at the end. And
I'll do it for as long as I enjoy it. That's what I've always said, and I do enjoy. I'm very passionate about marketing, but. Well, the minute I notice, it's like a football player. The minute, leave the football before the football leaves you, as they say. The minute I feel like I'm not, because you have the low times, you have the high times. The more I realize it's constantly feeling low, constantly, I'm feeling like that's when I'll be like, right now I need to leave.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because I need to do something different. I need to take some time for me. I need to reap the rewards for all my work now. Go spend some time, invest in an animal sanctuary and support you. I don't know if I get paid.
Can we all have jobs at the animal sanctuary?
Yes.
I don't know.
Volunteer.
Yeah, we'll volunteer.
Volunteer work.
Oh.
But for me, it's like, no, I know where the next 10 years goes. After that, I don't. And I've always been transparent with myself. I said, I don't want to be 45 plus and still working. I want to be educating and helping others, but on my time and getting that time back. I don't mind. I've always said working like a dog for myself for 10 years, so I don't have to work for somebody else for 4 years. But that's always been my mentality. Not everybody's going to be like that. Not every employee like that. People love their 9 to 5, their security. I thrive more in that unsecure what to do next, because it brings out that fight or flight within me, and that's where it sounds really bad, but I've talked about this with my coaches. That's where I excel. When I'm really under pressure, that's where I really excel. So why do I keep myself under pressure? Because it's like I'm constantly trying to see how far my ceiling is, and eventually I'll hit that ceiling and like, no, this is how I can go.
But don't act like you've got a choice in the matter.
Yeah,
all these things are coming.
Yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, I don't ask for this stuff. It literally, I'll wake up in the morning and it'll be like slap across the face. It's like, what? I just woke up. It's like, when did this happen? It's like, what? It is. It's constant. But I think if I was in another role where it wasn't as fast paced and always problem solving and strategically focused, which is where my strengths lie, I just don't think I'd enjoy it as much. Yeah, I think with the downs come the challenges, but with the when you overcome those challenges, that's when you get that smile and you get like, yeah, I just done that. Yeah, I've dealt with that.
And so can I ask a final question if we were wrapping up? Because it's the realities of, but it's not all bad and we're focusing on the bad things. So can we say what's good about it?
Oh,
well, a good way to end, yes.
I've helped. I think for me, I've always talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and where does that top part of the pyramid come from, which is self-actualization. And it's seeing like Dr. Ahmed go from working from the NHS to now have his flagship physical place right next to Selfridges in London. To see that journey, to know you've supported the leads and the revenue to have him to have 3 locations, is to see a bed company now open up in Belgium because they're doing so well in the UK market. It's, it's just seeing those results. It's seeing the team get behind it and really want to deliver and get passionate about the work. It's seeing the smiles on the clients' faces when they see the results come in. Can't guarantee it, but when it works, it's beautiful. It's like a symphony. It's like an orchestra. It's like a piece of like perfect painting that you can just always look and think, yeah, wow, I achieved that. Or the team are together, we achieved that, and the client buys that. So that's what drives me. So when it's good, honestly, it's so good. And you can live on that emotion for a long time and still go back to saying, even when it's hard, no, look at what we've achieved with X, Y, Z, and it will happen eventually. So I think for me, the positives is just how many businesses we've helped become bigger than what they are, how many people are self-employed, how the staff have gone from, individually developed. We have Joel, who is on the autistic spectrum, and when he first came in and how shy he was, but like how open and confident he is with clients and pitching. It's seen people's personal development going on that journey and overcoming personal challenges as well as businesses coming on business challenges. So I'd say there's loads of positives. What about you?
Yeah, I'd agree with a lot of what you said there. I think developing people and supporting people and creating a genuine community. I mean, I've always hated the word family when only business says about family. But when every time I get my team together and we do an exercise that's about trio and whatever, and the fact they all use that word back to me and say it's family, it's like family, it's like family, like that to me is like, and the people we work with, yes, the results, but also just being able to create such a great relationship and partnership from nothing, from this whole journey of getting someone to trust in you and then proving why they should have trusted in you and then sharing in the happiness of that. It's that kind of journey of emotions.
You've said this before. You said clients become friends quicker than friends become clients.
I don't think I have. I've heard you say it.
Maybe I say it. I don't know. I say a lot of stuff. But I always say, like, I think I saw it on a post.
I've seen that,
Yeah, I saw a post. Maybe you like to comment on it. But I saw it on a post, and I have said it before. I was like, clients become friends quicker than friends become clients. And the friendships I've built and the network I've built that are lifelong friends, whether they're still a client or not, because some people move on in their career journey, it's like, is just unique in terms of how it is. What I've seen in business and in the agency world is when people want to really genuinely help others, it is. But I think the biggest win has been me seeing where I was. I mean,
the best part and the biggest win is like me.
That's the bit we're going to...
In the edit, I'm just going to cut it. The biggest win has been
not in that sense.
Cue music.
I mean, not in like in a selfish it came across a lot. But what I mean is like, I never...
Go on, try to get
That's it. It's all gone to shit.
Let me get my shovel and dig myself out. But what I mean is about seeing myself and what I've been able to achieve, that actually the impact it's had on people around me that now, value me. I talked about this in Where Have I Been and Where Am I Going in my podcast. I talked about it as like the biggest good thing I've seen about it is who I've become and what I've seen myself in my personal life and my career development's gone into. Because if you'd really asked me when I left like uni and work in industry, would I've seen myself where I am today? No. But I'm proud of how far I've come. And when I look back, even during the tough times, I think, no, look at yourself, man. Look how far you've come. You can go further. So, yeah, I say the biggest win has been is me. And if you're not proud of how far you've come, then what are you doing it for? So for me, it's been everything, clients, staff, the people I've interacted with, people like, yourself, Claire, everyone I've worked with, yourself, James, Josh, from when we worked at into marketing to now recording my podcast, etc., working with our clients. It's like the biggest thing I've seen and the biggest rewarding our part has been is seeing my journey across that from dialysis to agency owner.
Yeah, and you should be super proud of that.
Yeah, so, leave it on me.
It's like that Snoop Dogg thing where he goes up, he gets an award, and he was like, I want to thank me. Yeah. I want to thank me for believing in me, being me, for, whatever. Yeah. And I do think you have to have that energy a bit as well. I mean, I saw a thing recently.
More Snoop Dogg than Kanye.
Snoop Dogg all the way. They said about quite a high percentage of CEOs are psychopaths. But I do think, whilst I don't believe in that, and certainly what my definition of a psychopath would be, I think you have to have a certain belief in you, even like you have to be able to have a bit of ego and be able to support yourself when no one else will, because there isn't someone to turn around every month and sit you down and go, oh yeah, you've achieved everything you don't have a one-to-one, you don't get told you're doing a good job, so you have to,
you only get told when you're doing a bad job,
unwaveringly believe in yourself and keep saying to yourself, I'm good at this, I'm smashing it, I'm doing a good job, because if you don't, who else will? And I think you've got to have that belief in yourself.
Absolutely. This has been by far the longest episode that we've done in this run. It's been well over an hour, but it's been brilliant. I honestly, it's been such a good conversation, and I've taken loads from it. I hope anyone that listens to this can take loads from it, whatever it is that they do, wherever they are in their own journey. I think there's been some awesome insights in there.
Yeah, I think it's going to make great clips. And like I said, this has been one of the more just natural ones that we've recorded, but I think generally because we get along quite well and we share a similar journey in that sense, it's quite good. And it's been great having you back.
Thank you. Been great to be back.
If you need a website, Trio.
Yeah.
If you need paid services, I'd always say me, but they also do as well.
Yeah, we do this. Who are you competing with?
No, but nobody. No, thanks for coming on. It's great to see you. And thanks for everybody who's listening. I know it was a longer episode. You're more used to 25, 30 minutes, but there's a lot of insights there. And I think it's been the most authentic, realistic conversation we've had. So do drop comments, do feedback to us, tell us what you liked. If you've got questions for me or for Claire, we'll share her details, obviously, on the YouTube and everything, so you can reach out to her on LinkedIn. I'm sure you want mine. Yep. And Trio Elemental will tag her in and Trio into all the content and snippets, so you can reach out to them directly. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Remember, Mr Bobble Official. Trying to get to that 5,000 followers mark on TikTok, please. We're at 3,400, and your help is going to help us get there. So we'll catch you in the next episode. Sorry, we've been quiet for a few weeks. Fortunately, I was in Dubai, but I'm back and recording for a few more weeks. So we'll have some more episodes out there. We're going to have a couple more regular breaks throughout the year, but consistent content across all social channels. Thank you for listening.